Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome back to People's Real Talk. I'm Raymond.
And I'm his wife, Latoria. And we are doing another video today. We will be focusing on some shows that we feel are important for people to tune into, kind of hone in on some of the topics and content that is expressed in these shows. And I also want to say that if you see us in another video wearing the exact same thing, mind your business. Different videos, same day. Okay. Okay. We're not gonna talk about it. Okay. Okay. So one of the shows that we feel is important to watch as an individual or as couples. So the goal is to prepare yourself as an individual to be part of a unit in a couple situation. So when we talk, we're talking from the standpoint of the individual gearing themselves up to being ready and prepared for their Mr. or Mrs. Right, whatever that situation looks like for you. So, one of those shows that we feel is important to watch is Love is Blind. It comes on Netflix.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll go into talking individually about the shows. And the second show that we think is important to watch is Married at First Sight, also on Netflix.
Yeah.
Um, and then the last show is a YouTube show that we recently got into watching that we found very beneficial. And we also watch it sometimes with our daughter if she comes over, and we talk about it as a family, which we find very helpful. That is Pop the Balloon or Find Love, and that is the one by Arlette.
Mhm.
I don't know how to say her last name, and I apologize for that. But it shouldn't be hard to find. It's on YouTube, and her name is Arlette. It's called Pop the Balloon or Find Love. So, um, so basically, Love is Blind. The premise of the show is these couples do not see each other up front. They are in two separate um, areas, and they have dates basically blindly in a pod where the only thing that they have to go on is talking to one another. They do not get to see what each other looks like until either one or both tap out, or one person proposes. Well, the male proposes to the female, and then at that point there's the big reveal and they get to see what the person looks like, and then from there it continues with them going into like a trial engagement situation. um, Very interesting show. We definitely have taken a lot away from that show.
Yeah. Mhm.
um, Talk about the next one.
Married at First Sight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, Married at First Sight. That's definitely one of my favorites. First of all, I think it takes a special person to get married at first sight because personally, I need time to get to know you inside and out
Mm-hmm.
before I, get down on one knee and ask you to marry me.
Yeah.
So kudos to the people who even auditioned for the show. But I do feel like once I know they pair them up and they get to know each other that way. Um, me and my wife always kind of wait until, after the honeymoon phase and things like that. That's when it really gets real on that show. So,
So let me give you a little bit more premise about that. I think he
hmm
skipped over that a little
hmm
bit. So a little bit of premise about this show is um they are matched up. They are just told individually by the experts who put them through separately a series of questions and things that are important to them. They go through a very severe battery of questionnaires to possibly find matches for these individuals. Then they are finally told by the experts that they're now engaged. They do not meet their spouse until they are literally walking down the aisle. So that's why the show is called Married at First Sight. So basically, once they get to the altar, they're married. So then they go into their trial marriage and they have to figure out as they're in the trial marriage, do they want to stay married or do they want to get an annulment? And it is a true, actual, legitimate, real marriage. Some of these couples stay married. Some of them have gone on to have children and been married for quite some time. And some of them don't even make it out of the trial period. So it's a true experiment, but we have definitely taken a lot from that show as well. And then Pop the Balloon or Find Love. We watched that starting out as just kind of like a joke, like haha, this is a funny little show on YouTube. But it turns out that that is another show that we really get into, and it tells you a lot about um it can help you hone in on your needs, your deal breakers, your standards. And I will tell my women out there, because a lot of us have trouble with understanding when it is appropriate to erect our standards and keep them astringent. There is nothing wrong, ladies, with having a standard and standing on business when it comes to that standard. There will be somebody who will think that your standards are not too costly, and that will be your person. If you tell a person your standards and they run for the hills, you're better for it that they run now. Then you start to have feelings for this person, and then they slowly start to develop, or not develop, they start to unravel the layers of you like an onion, and then they realize you have so many layers to you and your standards are so unattainable, but now you're kind of further in and your feelings are all caught up. So do not be afraid to let somebody know your standards up front. If they're going to run, let them. You just weeded through the crowd and you made your life a little bit better for it. At least your feelings weren't caught up and you didn't lose anything on the front end.
Pop the Balloon is my favorite show right now.
It really is.
I love it because I'm a deep thinker and I really dissect um, each person, what they say, their mannerisms. One of the things that I really noticed about that show is people, if you really listen to people, they'll tell you who they are, a lot about their character. Um, but I'll let you go and get into more of that.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed is that show, if you really pay attention, it is a good way to weed out players from potential. And when I say players, I'm not only speaking about ladies, but you can weed out the people who came on the show just to play the game. They just want to be seen. They want to be on TV. They probably advertising something about themselves, whether they're an entrepreneur and have a new business, or they do something that they're trying to get more eyes and more traction on, as opposed to the people that came on the show to genuinely find love and they're looking for their person. So if you pay attention, you can really weed through the crowd and see who's there for the show purposes to being on TV, or on YouTube TV. And you can see who's there seriously trying to find somebody. I know one thing my husband brought up, and I'm gonna let him talk about this, is how you notice people who are genuine versus the disingenuine, the followers. And I'll let you elaborate on that.
Okay. So I noticed some of the shows, And I'm talking about when we have a lineup of men and there's one woman choosing between the men. So one thing I noticed with some of the guys in some of the episodes is that a lot of the guys piggyback off of the next guy. You see these grown men, you know, they're leaning over to each other, whispering each other ear, giggling, and then all of a sudden you see both of them pop. And I tell my wife, I said, you see what happened there? That they didn't really give that woman an opportunity. They whispered to each other whatever it was. Obviously, it must have been something negative. They both laughed and they both popped at the same time.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, and I told my wife, I said, see that's a follower. One led, one followed.
Right.
For no apparent reason, they hadn't even spoke to the young lady, but just for probably some surface reason, they just popped.
And you can see the guys that are just looking at the physical aspects or attributes of the woman, because they'll keep their balloon the entire time that she's up front talking, but as soon as she walks down the line, they're eyeing her from behind or up and down, and then all of a sudden you hear a stream of pop pop pops. It starts to sound like fireworks going off, and you could tell those are the people that are only there for shallow reasons. They only want to see what the person looks like, so they're waiting for that opportunity to have them walk by so they can get a full up and down view of her before they pop. And it's not only the men that do that. Some of the women do that as well. They wait until the men go by and then they'll pop. So you get to see a lot of whether people are truly being genuine. A lot of people are double-minded on that show. They'll see one person and they'll say they're not into something, and they pop for one person, but another person will come out and have similar attributes or say the same thing and they won't pop for them. So it's like people are really double-minded and unstable. That's why it's really important to know yourself, know your worth, know what your standards and deal breakers are, and don't let that be determined by somebody else's mindset or the way they look at life. It needs to be your own set of standards, needs, wants, desires, deal breakers, goals. All of that should come from you.
Yeah, and have reasonable reasons for popping a balloon. I hear guys saying, "Oh, your fingernail polish don't match your toenail polish," and I'm like, really? Like really? That's what you chose
Shallow
to pop on? I mean, and this may be a really good, warm-hearted, genuine uh, woman here, but you chose to hone in on her fingernail polish and her toenail polish.
Right.
So yeah, look, I just don't really get some of that.
And to my ladies, y'all are not off the hook either. To the ladies out there, we see a lot of ladies come in, and I will say that a lot of them are younger. But when Arlette asked the basic question, what are your deal breakers? Or what are you looking for in a man? And you say, I don't know, just, you know, basically, what do you mean? I don't know, just basically. That's kind of like when you walk into an a potential employer, and they say, tell me a little bit about yourself. You should have at least a 1 to 3 minute spiel about yourself. Why? Because it's you, and if nobody else knows about you, you should know about you. So that looks horrible on you for the employer that you can't tell them a brief synopsis about you, and it's you. The same thing with this dating show. It looks horrible on you when she says, so tell me what you're looking for in a man. And you say, I don't know, just like somebody that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't say anything. Like what? What are you looking for?